canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am
I am
tired,
tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Hey, what do you say, friends? Here we go. We finally reached it to a Friday. How good it is. It is Friday, November 7th. Great to see you today here on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill. Congress comes back to town next week. Meanwhile, John Boehner and Mitch McConnell are out there claiming that they've got a mandate to do whatever they want. Yeah, that's what they say the voters gave them on Tuesday. A mandate, first of all, to force the Keystone Pipeline through the Congress and force President Obama to approve it. And then a mandate to repeal Obamacare. There they go, their same old tricks. How can they possibly claim to have a mandate when 2/3 of the people did not even vote? So most Americans don't want what they're trying to sell. Pardon me. Hey, by the way, have you heard about anything about Ebola lately? Notice, huh? Good news, therefore, it's out of the news. Yes, there is still only one case in the United States, Dr. Craig Spencer up in New York. No new cases in the United States in the last 3 weeks. And even in all those people in Dallas, by the way, who were originally quarantined from the Dallas hospital, all have been released. And even in Liberia, the number of new cases is down dramatically. Maybe we have finally turned the corner. And a George Bush judge out in Ohio has reversed earlier lower court rulings on marriage equality and has said it is okay to ban same-sex marriages in Kentucky, in Michigan, in Ohio, and in Tennessee. That means that case is going directly to the Supreme Court. Judge is wrong, and he will be proven wrong. Lots to talk about today, so don't forget. Give us a call. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Good to have you with us Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater-fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple and they add up and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that would be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. And like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
We now know the name of the Navy SEAL who shot Osama bin Laden. Give that guy a medal. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? You know what? Are you ready? It's Friday. Oh, yeah. A big Friday, November 7. And, it's our favorite day around the Bill Press Show. Friday. It's your favorite day, too. Welcome to this Friday. Hallelujah, indeed. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining us. We made it through this horrible week.
It's been a bear, hasn't it?
I know. I feel like I've been on a cruise ship that crashed into a sandbar.
A poop cruise.
Yeah, right.
The poop cruise. This is a poop cruise. The poop cruise of all time, man. I got to tell you. Yes, indeed. Put this week behind us.
Oof.
Ooh, yeah. How about it? On this Friday, it's so good to see you, November 7. We are coming to you live all across this great land of ours. United States of America, we are strong. We are here together, starting out from our studio on Capitol Hill. That's where we start our journey today. Keeping our eye on what's going on here in Washington, around the country, and around the globe. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what it means to you. 866-55-PRESS is that toll-free number to join the conversation. 866-55-77-377. Put it on your speed dial. And send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show. Love to hear from our friends on Twitter and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. How about it? Team Press here. Peter Ogburn, Sean Pierce, filling in for Alicia Murphy.
Good morning.
Yet again today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Good to have you here with Alicia Cruz. On the phones, she is there to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding is here, our videographer, to make sure that when you go to Free Speech and TawkrTV, there's something on your screen, namely us.
That's
us.
right.
Right, yeah. Got to tell you. So, a very, very impressive event last night, I got to tell you, out on the town in Washington, D.C., at the Library of Congress for a black tie event marking the beginning of a new exhibit there on the Magna Carta.
Oh, I read about this.
In fact, I learned they don't say on the on Magna Carta. On Magna Carta. It is here. There are 4 extant copies from 2015, 1215. Yeah. Imagine that. 4.
Wow.
Handwritten, of course. And one of them from Lincoln Cathedral is here at the Library of Congress. So if you're anywhere in Washington in the next couple of months, be sure to go by. I think it'll be there for 3 or 4 months. This is a copy that the British government asked the United States to hold during World War II to keep it safe.
Whoa.
It was over here for the World's Fair in 1939 in New York, and then war started breaking out. And so they said, you know what, you've got it. Would you keep it and keep it safe? So it was in the Library of Congress for a little bit, and then they took it to Fort Knox and kept it in Fort Knox until the end of the war.
We're not playing around, Jack.
Oh, no. That's cool. But, I mean, our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, our body of law and our spirit of law comes right straight from the Magna Carta. From Magna Carta. I'm sorry. And so the Justice Scalia gave the keynote last night. I found out, I was talking to him, he and I both graduated from the University of Fribourg in Switzerland.
Really?
Yeah.
That's at least the only thing you two have in common.
I know. It's so funny. We're talking Fribourg. But he was there, and the guest of honor was Princess Royal.
Yo.
Is the title for Princess Anne. Prince Charles' sister, Princess Anne.
Oh, man, this was a serious event.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what I thought was very, so I've never been in the company of a princess.
Yeah, right.
The Chief Justice was there too, but who cares about John Roberts? Princess Royal. That's her title, Princess Royal. And so she spoke, and then I thought it was funny. So it's all this, everybody's extolling Magna Carta and our liberties and our rights, and and putting down the sovereign and all of this. And then at the end of the ceremony ahead, before we went up for the fabulous dinner, black tie, everybody says, "Now would you all stand and stay in your places so Her Highness can depart?" Right? I'm thinking, what the hell? I thought they just said, we're all equal now, right? We just stand there while Princess Royal and her party go out of the auditorium.
That's great.
That's
great.
There's a big contradiction.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's too funny.
So, but it was a wonderful ceremony. There we are. Yes, indeed, we got lots and lots to talk about here today. With the still trying to recover from the midterms. We'll be talking a little bit later in this hour to Justin Sink from The Hill. There with me at the briefing yesterday. Jeremy Holden from Media Matters will be along as well, and Clinton Yates. Here is a friend of Bill from the Washington Post a little bit later, together with John Nichols from The Nation magazine. John Boehner and Mitch McConnell insist they got a mandate, man. Do they? We'll get into that. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. The country of Latvia is only one of a handful of European Union countries with a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage. They also have a bill in Parliament that bans sex ed curriculum from being taught, and same-sex marriages are obviously not allowed there at all, and they have a bill to ban gay propaganda in the works. Very anti-gay country, Latvia.
It sounds like Russia.
So imagine their surprise when their foreign minister last night tweeted out, "I proudly announce I am gay. Good luck, all of you." And that's the only tweet he sent, and so people were concerned that maybe he was hacked and someone was playing a joke on him. But he followed up and said, no, that was me. I am a gay man in Latvia. So good for him for coming out in a country that is not very friendly to people of his kind.
It is the country of my ancestors.
Is that
on
right?
On one side of the family.
Latvian?
Yes, from Latvia.
Right.
At least I'm almost positive.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some in the mix there.
Oh no, definitely. I just haven't made the final link, but I've been working on it.
Right.
And now I'm ashamed of it.
Yeah.
Screw it. I don't want to be
proud of your foreign minister.
I'm proud of my foreign minister. Not proud of my country.
Yeah. Right. There you go. Bill, I know you're going to be bummed out to hear this, but drones can actually help. In fact, it might have saved a man's life in Abu Dhabi earlier this week. He was 10 floors up on the side of a skyscraper, this window washer in Abu Dhabi. His lift malfunctioned, and so he was hanging on the edge, afraid that the lift was going to fall. So officials used a drone to go up to the man. They used a microphone to calm him down, and then they had an expert who knew how to fix this rig that he was on, walk him through the steps of how to get back on it and how to fix it to where it would lower back down again. They used the drone that got up there to him to use the microphone to walk him through it. So save the man's life, Bill.
I've always said there are some good uses for drones. For the Forest Service to use drones to spot where new fire, for the Coast Guard to use them for rescue missions. That's fine. Just don't use them to kill Americans in other countries.
That's fair. That's very fair. And last night...
Did you hear that, Barack Obama? Okay.
Earlier this week, Governor John Hickenlooper proposed the Colorado budget. Very interesting little tidbit out of there. Taxpayer rebates are in that budget to the tune of $167.2 million.
Because
Wanna
of pot.
know why?
Yeah.
Coloradans love their pot. They have bought so much more marijuana than was expected that they are now getting a rebate. Taxpayers are getting a rebate in the state of Colorado.
I'm telling you, every state ought to do the same.
Yeah.
Smoke them if you got them.
And we got Alaska and Oregon, and the District of Columbia.
It's very
this
interesting.
time, and there'll be, as Keith Stropp told us yesterday, there'll be more states. What was he saying? Maybe Maine by state legislature, not initiative. Massachusetts, and there are others that are coming along.
It's very interesting to see that the new mayor of Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser, when she had one of her first press conferences,
Was she high?
She wasted no time in saying, we passed it here, now we need to tax it.
Oh,
because you can't, we don't have to spend, we're not going to have a dispensary here where we go in and buy it and walk out. But it's coming.
Yeah, they'll follow through. Yes, indeed. Here we go on the 16 minutes after the hour. You know, it is so funny watching Mitch McConnell and John Boehner strut like, Christmas turkeys here. They're... I
don't know why that visual is so funny to me.
But they are. They really are. Yeah, look at us. We won. I mean, give me a break, right? In fact, they're talking about how bad in the media talking about how bad it is for Democrats and everything, and John Boehner and Mitch McConnell about, oh man, we got this mandate now. We got the American people just said basically, go there and do anything you want. No, not quite, right? I mean, I ask you that question. Do you think that we know? Look, Democrats got skunked Tuesday night all across the board, Senate, House, governors, state legislatures, but. Was that really a mandate? Is that the message? A mandate for Republican policies? I don't think so. Number one, it can't be a mandate when 2/3 of the people stayed home, okay? I mean, you can't tell me when 1/3 of the people turn out and 60%, let's say, of 1/3 of the people, somebody do the math, 60% of 1/3 of the people vote for Republicans. That's a mandate? That's not a mandate. I mean, I got this one email yesterday from Jeff Bramman out in Iowa who says, considering low turnout in Iowa, Joni Ernst was elected by about 10% of the people of Iowa. So 90% of the people of Iowa didn't vote for her, and yet she's still the senator from Iowa. Okay, she's the senator, but she doesn't have a mandate. And so John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, what are they talking about? What is their mandate, right? To do what? The first thing both of them have said is Keystone Pipeline. Really? I mean, that's the number one agenda for the Republican Party. That's what they think Americans want most of all. Really? I mean, not if you ask me. So John Boehner says, here's our job. Our job is to listen to the American people. Yeah, right? And Dana Bash asked him about, how can the president trust you? He says, we're going to listen to the American people.
How do you expect the president to trust that you really want to work together when out of the gate you say that you want to repeal his signature law that you know has no chance of getting a veto-proof majority? How do you expect him to trust you?
My job is to listen to the American people. The American people have made it clear they're not for Obamacare. I asked all those Democrats who lost their elections Tuesday night. A lot of them voted for Obamacare. So my job's not to get along with the president just to get along with him, although we actually have a nice relationship. The fact is my job is listen to my members and listen to the American people and make their priorities our priorities.
That is such BS. Listen to the American people. 70% of the American people support raising the minimum wage. Hello, John Boehner. Are you listening? Right? 75% of the American people support immigration reform. John Boehner, are you listening? Here's what John Boehner says yesterday about, and the president has said, we have to do immigration reform, and Congress has had now 6 years, and they haven't done it. So the president has said, I'm not going to wait around any longer. If you don't do something, I'll go to sign an executive order by the end of the year. Here's what John Boehner has to say about that.
I've made clear to the president that if he acts unilaterally on his own, outside of his authority, he will poison the well, and there will be no chance for immigration reform moving in this Congress. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's as simple as that, right? So basically, what Boehner is saying is really, if you parse it, I've got a mandate to ignore the American people. I've got a mandate to do whatever the hell I want. And by the way, when he says I have to listen to my members, his members are freaking crazy. And they're going to get worse. Politico has a good story this morning about the nut jobs that are coming into this Congress that are going to make Michelle Bachmann look like a stateswoman. I mean, she's so far out there, but she's gone. But you still have Steve King. And then if we pull that story up here, there's a guy from out in Wisconsin, Glenn Grothman, I think, right? His name.
Yeah.
Right. He's come back here. He says his priority is he wants to cancel Kwanzaa. He wants to cancel the Martin Luther King holiday. He wants to cancel food stamps because they encourage sloth. It goes on and on.
This is the type of guy this is the guy you work with who is always being annoying and saying, well, it's February, it's Black History Month. When are they going to have a White History Month?
Yeah, right. There's a guy from North Carolina, Mark Walker, coming in as a new congressman, a pastor, who says the United States should invade Mexico. That's the only way. Jesus, that's the only way. The only way to start. And there are 10 to 20 of these nut jobs who are coming in. So John Boehner says, I want to listen to my members. Yeah. So that's the question. Really, John Boehner and Mitch McConnell, really, they have a mandate? 866. Is that what we learned on Tuesday? Is that what Tuesday tells you? 866-55-PRESS. Here we are on a Friday morning. Let's talk about it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university? And,
people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour. Yes, indeed. John Boehner and Mitch McConnell say, we know, we are listening, we heard the American people, they've given us a mandate to do whatever we want. We're going to start by forcing through the Keystone Pipeline. Forget about the whole process that's underway. They're going to force a vote, knowing President Obama won't sign it. And they're going to kill, both of them say they want to kill Obamacare because the American people don't want it. They're wrong about that. That's their idea, by the way. Because while they say they have a mandate, they also say they want to find common ground. That's their idea of common ground. Forcing the Keystone Pipeline, their number one priority, along with killing Obamacare. Common ground? They're two issues that are never going to fly. Kevin, calling from out in Chicago. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Yeah, hey, they forgot to say it's not the American people; it's their corporate masters, the ones who pull their strings. But our number one legislative goal for the next 2 years is to make Mitch McConnell the most ineffective speaker. That's what our goal is. Okay, just like they said to us.
Yeah.
Okay, block them on everything, because that's all they're going to try and do is just listen to their corporate masters. I gotta wonder if they got the knee pads sewn in their suits or did they put them on?
Kevin, I love it. I love it. Yeah. You know what? By the way, I am with you all the way. I hope I don't want Democrats to roll over here or bend over, whatever. No, they got to be strong. They got to fight. They got to use the filibuster against Mitch McConnell every bit as much as he used it against Barack Obama and the Democrats. More calls coming up. Do the Republicans have a mandate?
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show this Friday, November 7. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, brought to you today by AFSCME, the good men and women of AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country under President Lee Saunders. They were out there doing a lot of GOTV work, especially active in Wisconsin. Too bad it didn't turn out better, but they do great work every day, and you can find out more about their good work at their website, AFSCME, AFSCME.org, AFSCME.org. We're talking about the claim that John Boehner and Mr. McConnell are making that they have a mandate, which they see as a mandate to force through the Keystone Pipeline and to kill Obamacare. Before we get back to your calls on that, just one little update here. It's important. Everybody else is forgetting this story. I am not going to forget it. Today is a very important day. Today in Dallas, the very last healthcare worker who has been under observation, under quarantine, will be released. That is, we know about the two nurses who got the disease, both of whom mercifully have been cured thanks to our great healthcare system in this country. Those two. There were 177 others who were under quarantine. 177 others, family and healthcare workers. They have all been released. The last one today.
There you go.
I mean, that is a powerful message. No wonder Republicans aren't talking about it, huh? Now, why? Well, they're not out there saying, Obama's got to do more. This proves Obama's a bad leader and everything. Yeah, I mean, it's just like when the good news happens, the media just shuts up.
It's amazing, right? How there were so many people out there talking about how the president wasn't equipped to handle a problem like this. And look, the CDC certainly had its fair share of issues, but this is really good news.
This is great news. There is still
They shut it down.
One case in the United States, Dr. Craig Spencer up in New York, who is doing very well. No other cases, not a new case for the last 3 weeks, and now 177 people in Dallas who were in that hospital who in some way treated or handled the waste and that kind of stuff from Thomas Eric Duncan, who died of the disease. 177, none of them contracted the disease.
You know what I think is fascinating?
Last one released today.
One of the things I think is just really amazing about this is one of those first guys who had Ebola, got in Africa, and then came here to be treated. He donated his his blood.
Yes.
To all of the people
right
here in America who had it. He's donated it to Science too so they could look at it. But he's been giving his blood. He personally has given blood to all of them here in this country.
Yeah, he's that. Wasn't he that doctor that was treated in Omaha? That's the guy.
Yeah.
No, great guy. So, and by the way, and you know what? If you ask John Boehner, talk about common ground. If you ask John Boehner or Mitch McConnell today about Ebola, they would attack President Obama and say he wasn't doing a good enough job on it. I'm telling you, they would not.
President can't lead on Ebola.
Yeah, they would not say, "Boy, we had a little rocky road there, but we got the job done." They would attack him on it. That's the common ground. There is not going to be. I'm telling you, and my column will be going out if it's not already out today on this thing. I just said, don't hold your breath for any bipartisanship from Mitch McConnell and John Boehner. They're not, you might as well say they're going to have a sex change operation, as I said yesterday. It ain't going to happen. They're not going to be any different than they've been for the last 30 years, the two of them. So, I mean, don't expect any change. And now they say they've got a mandate. And John Boehner says, listen to our members. I was just reading during the break. But back to your calls. Do they have a mandate? 866-55-PRESS. But this guy, Glenn Grothman, he's just got my attention this morning from Wisconsin. I mean, he is one of, they say, 20 Tea Party extremists. These are going to make, again, Steve King and Michelle Bachmann look reasonable, right? Who are coming into the Congress this year. They haven't gotten a lot of attention, but boy, they're going to be grabbing the headlines when they get here. So this Glenn Grothman says, here's how crazy he is. He thinks Wisconsin is wrong to have a law against a 7-day work week. Who needs weekends?
Come on.
Who needs weekends? I mean tell me that's not extreme, right?
Do you get elected with that?
He also says it's okay. Pay equity? No. He says it's okay for women to get paid less because money is more important for men. Quote unquote. Money is more important for men. Here is the new Republican Congress. These are the people John Boehner says he has to listen to, right? These are the Ted Cruzes of the world. You think they got a mandate? The American people don't want this nonsense, right? And by the way, John Boehner says the American people don't want Obamacare. Oh, yes, they do. That's why 8 million people have signed up, not counting another 8 million who have Medicaid today because of Obamacare. And I don't know how many millions more who would have it if there weren't 23 or whatever Republican governors who won't allow an expansion of Medicare in their states. So Obamacare is working. You didn't really see that many of them Republicans talking about Obamacare either. I mean, they still say you want to kill it, but they know the American people have settled into it. At any rate, mandate, my ass. Anita calling from San Antonio, Texas. Hello, Anita.
Good morning, Bill.
Hi, what do you say?
Go Spurs.
Yeah, right. Three-peat, or wait, well, I guess it will be still two-peat, but...
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, Bill, I think President Obama should respect this so-called Republican mandate the same way they respected his mandates after 2008 and 2012.
Oh, yeah, they really, right. When he was reelected, they said, okay, you know what? We know what the American people want, right? So we're going to work together with Obama. Yeah, how'd that work out, Anita?
Yeah, no kidding. And 60% of the people voted back then, so...
That's right.
This is not a mandate.
Yeah.
No matter what they may think. This is just...
Amen to that. Yeah, absolutely. And also, Anita, I said a little earlier on, just want to repeat, I hope that Democrats don't hesitate to use the filibuster every bit as often as Republicans did against the Democrats and against Barack Obama. I mean, that's what game they want to play?
Yeah.
Fine. We'll play your game.
Sure.
We will play your... Absolutely.
Ram it right back in their face.
Oh, how do you like that filibuster, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try it out here, right? Out in Des Moines, Iowa. Hello, Don. Hey, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bill. What I want to say is, what is it going to take to put a fire underneath the Democrats?
Well, I would hope that this would put a fire under them. Go ahead.
Well, we had 10% less turnout than we did in 2010 in Iowa. This debate between Ernest and Braley. I mean, why can't we fire back the Republicans tell all these lies, and we just sit here and act like we why don't we fire back and get me mad?
Drives me.
That's what I'm trying to say. It makes me.
Listen, I'm with you, Don. It drives me crazy. Democrats can be such wimps, and in terms of fighting back, in terms of getting the message out. I mean, I'm so bummed by what happened on Tuesday. I've been in a mild depression ever since. But I've got to say, a lot of the drubbing or thumping or shellacking that we took was self-inflicted. And mainly because I think, and Bernie Sanders told us this the morning after Wednesday morning, that Democrats were not out there talking about the issues that middle-class voters want to hear about jobs, about minimum wage, about pay equity, about their basic, household income that hasn't gone up for the last 15 years or whatever. And they weren't giving people a reason to get out and vote. And no wonder so many people stayed home. And also, they weren't accusing, or let's say unmasking the Republicans and calling out the Republicans for all the obstructionism. I would have been in their face calling them out by name. Yeah. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. 70% of you support the minimum wage. Even in 4 red states on Tuesday, they voted to increase the minimum wage. That's what the American people want. I think President Obama should have been out there saying, you know why there's no increase in minimum wage? Because John Boehner won't even bring it up to a vote.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have done a Harry Truman and run against this Congress and run against this do-nothing Boehner.
Do you remember any of the candidates when
Instead,
they were running?
He's playing golf on the weekend before.
Do you remember any of the candidates really on offense at all?
No.
Everybody was on defense the whole time.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't ask me if I voted.
Yeah.
Don't ask me if I voted for President Obama.
No, I'm not
that's
just
not
like
what
President Obama.
That's not what this campaign is all about. No. Yeah, go. You're right, Peter. That's a good way to sum it up. Offense, not defense. The best defense is a good offense.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. All right.
That's right.
All right. Justin Sink covers the White House for The Hill. He's standing by to join us in our next segment here. Thanks for all the calls. More calls throughout the program this morning on the same topic, on the same theme. Do you think Republicans really have a mandate? I don't. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org. At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, at 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. It's been a busy week at the White House, a briefing just about every day, plus a full-scale news conference on the part of the President of the United States. But we had it covered for you. I was there, as well as Justin Sink, covers the White House for The Hill, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Justin, how are you?
Hey, doing all right. How about you?
All right, good to have you with us this morning. So, Justin, we've heard a lot of kumbaya talk this week about common ground and working together. How long do you think that's going to last?
I'm not sure it's lasted even 24 hours after the election, to be honest. We heard a lot from leaders on both sides of the aisle.
Hey, Justin, let me interrupt you for just a second. What's up with your cell phone here?
That phone sounds weird.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. Is it a regular cell phone or, well?
It is, yeah.
We're getting an echo for some reason in it. He's going to try to sort it out here. Hang on with us. Well, all right. Are you there, Justin? Yep. Okay. No, you know what? That's not going to work. Phone is just sounds too bad. I'm sorry, Justin. Good friend. We love having him in the studio. Love seeing him at the White House. I'll see him a little later in the White House, but that phone's not going to work. But so we'll go back to your calls here at 866-55-PRESS. But just picking up on that, I agree with Justin. I don't think it's lasted very long at all. The common ground, as we've been talking earlier, it's not common ground when John Boehner says, okay, now here's our definition of common ground. Well, let's start with the president. The president says, here's where we can find common ground: immigration reform. Republicans, a lot of them say we have to do it. American people want to do it. The business community says we got to do it. And then John Boehner and Mitch McConnell say, no, our common ground is Keystone Pipeline and killing Obamacare. We're going to go back to Justin. All right, Justin, are you there?
Hey, any better now?
That's better. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know what happened either, but we have an instant fix-it machine here, so whatever.
Perfect.
All right, so you were saying about this kumbaya moment. Hasn't even lasted 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, both President Obama, Speaker Boehner, Leader McConnell all kind of talked a lot about how they wanted to find common ground. They wanted to work together. But at the same time, you started asking them about specific issues and specific differences, and they dug in, and they're on this. They're in the same place that they were at the beginning of the week.
Right. Common ground for Obama is immigration reform. Common ground for Mitch McConnell and John Boehner is Keystone Pipeline. Right.
Yeah, and we heard from the White House essentially that they didn't say it explicitly, but that they would probably veto any bill to press forward on Keystone Pipeline ahead of the timeline that they wanted to. And from the House leadership and the Senate leadership, they're going to go ahead and push forward with a bill to repeal parts of Obamacare, which is something that the president wants no part of, obviously. And they've said that any executive action he takes on immigration reform will poison the well.
And the president made it pretty clear, I thought, at the news conference and Josh's, like yesterday, he said flat out the president's going to sign it before the end of the year.
Yeah, and so, and I think what we've heard from the president for months now is that, the House has had 2 years now to move ahead with a bill if they wanted to move ahead with something legislatively, and they haven't. And so in Speaker Boehner's press conference yesterday, he seemed to kind of ask for more time, say that the House is now ready to do something. And I think for the White House, their argument is, well, we've heard this from you guys for a really long time. Why should we trust you? And, Boehner was asked explicitly, well, will you commit to having a vote on immigration reform? Will you make that promise? And he wouldn't make that promise. And so I think it's kind of, we're back to where we were before.
And the reason he can't make that promise is the same reason he couldn't make the promise for the last couple of years, right? But because of his Tea Party caucus.
Yeah, I think that, Boehner seems very genuinely interested in...
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. If it were up to Boehner himself, he would make it. His caucus is not going to let him make that deal. Hey, Justin, good to have you with us. Get you back in studio soon. We have a briefing about noon today, and I'll see you down there. Thank you for joining us, the Bill Press Show. Justin Sink from thehill.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
I'm the retired bishop with the Episcopal Church as the bishop for all chaplains in federal service. I read that there was a group of people that represented a sense of injustice that I had. We'd lost Zuccotti. There was a kind of a hope that maybe Trinity Church would be gracious and give refuge. We picked this day where we would gather and demonstrate that Trinity was closing its ears to what was happening. We marched around the block, and I realized that, my goodness, they're carrying a ladder. And I thought, well, this is the moment. You could feel a spiritual presence. You could feel a certain something. And then the cops came in. It got brutal.
I'm with you right here. Robin, I'm here.
The church needed, in this moment in history, to stand alongside of these protesters. The truth of Christ is found in the pews, is found in the institutional church, but it is also found in the streets. It's found in the honesty and the integrity, the insistence of people that you find in Occupy Wall Street.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Media Matters. Jeremy Holden here with us at the top of the next hour. Talk about how the media has been playing the results from Tuesday. And then Burgess Everett from Politico.
Good news, bad news, Bill.
All right, I'll take good news first.
All right, good news first is the cost of gasoline is cheap now. It's
right.
Or cheaper.
Under $3.
Under $3, which means jet fuel is cheaper. So as we approach the holiday travel season, airlines are going to be paying less for fuel.
And they'll be charging less for seats on the planes.
Well, that's where the bad news comes in. They're not going to be passing those savings on to you and me, the consumer. What they are going to do, according to Airlines for America, is they're going to turn that money into acquiring new aircrafts, upgrading their software, and attracting long-term investors. So you and I will not get a break when we try to
and paying their executives more. They won't be paying the flight attendants more or the pilots more, and they won't be giving the passengers a break either. Nor the people that clean the airplanes.
Or the ground crew.
Nor the ground crew. Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh man, I gotta tell you, I hate the airlines even more. All right, back with Jeremy Holden from Media Matters.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, what do you say, friends? Here we go. We finally reached it to a Friday. How good it is. It is Friday, November 7. Great to see you today here on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill. Congress comes back to town next week. Meanwhile, John Boehner and Mitch McConnell are out there claiming that they've got a mandate to do whatever they want. Yeah, that's what they say the voters gave them on Tuesday. A mandate, first of all, to force the Keystone Pipeline through the Congress and force President Obama to approve it. And then a mandate to repeal Obamacare. There they go, their same old tricks. How can they possibly claim to have a mandate when 2/3 of the people did not even vote? So most Americans don't want what they're trying to sell. Pardon me. Hey, by the way, have you heard about anything about Ebola lately? Notice, huh? Good news, therefore, it's out of the news. Yes, there is still only one case in the United States, Dr. Craig Spencer up in New York. No new cases in the United States in the last 3 weeks. And even in all those people in Dallas, by the way, who were originally quarantined from the Dallas hospital, all have been released. And even in Liberia, the number of new cases is down dramatically. Maybe we have finally turned the corner. And a George Bush judge out in Ohio has reversed earlier lower court rulings on marriage equality and has said it is okay to ban same-sex marriages in Kentucky, in Michigan, in Ohio, and in Tennessee. That means that case is going directly to the Supreme Court. Judge is wrong, and he will be proven wrong. Lots to talk about today, so don't forget. Give us a call. Join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Good to have you with us Friday morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
15 congressional leaders having lunch with the president and the vice president today at the White House. No word on what they're going to be served. Crow. They're going to be eating crow at the White House and drinking Kentucky bourbon.
Wash that crow down with some bourbon, man.
That sounds like the menu to me.
Yeah.
Hey, hello, everybody. Here we go. Friday, November 7. Good to see you. And thank you for coming along for the ride here on a Friday morning. Wrapping up our lamentations over the results of the midterm elections on Tuesday, what it all means, what happened, and how we dig ourselves out of this hole. We'll do it together. You give us a call on what you think and tell us what you think at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Good to be there with you on your local progressive talk radio station. Good to be there with you on the two great radio apps. If you don't have a progressive station near you, download them. They're free. iHeartRadio and TuneIn, both free, and then you can find us there. And if you prefer to look and not just listen, go to Free Speech TV. If you got DirecTV, there we are, or worldwide on our video stream on any electronic device at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. We're going to be talking a lot about the media coverage of the midterms. How did they handle it? Were they talking about the right issues and summing up with the right messages? Nobody knows that better than Media Matters. That's their job. They watch all this crap so we don't have to. Jeremy Holden's the Director of Research for Media Matters. In studio with us again this morning. Jeremy, always good to see you.
Thanks for having me back, Bill.
Yep, good to see you. And Peter Ogburn here leading up a team this morning.
Hey.
Sean Pierce running the board.
Thank you very much.
With Alicia Cruz. She's there to take your calls, 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolden keeping us looking good on the video stream and on Free Speech TV, our videographer. We've heard a lot, Jeremy, about common ground. That was the word yesterday. Common ground. President used it in his news conference on Wednesday. John Boehner and Mitch McConnell both used it. Here's John Boehner's. What do they mean by common ground? Well, here's what John Boehner's definition of common ground is when he was talking about the president and the possibility of immigration reform.
I've made clear to the president that if he acts unilaterally on his own, outside of his authority, he will poison the well, and there will be no chance for immigration reform moving in this Congress. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Common ground, huh?
That's the one that'll do it. That will be the thing that poisons the well and stops immigration reform. That would be the one thing.
Mm-hmm.
That,
for John Boehner to warn him.
Yeah.
And he also said, if he plays with matches, he's going to get burned on this kind of stuff. I mean,
but the media eats it up. They eat it up. I mean, what have we heard for the last few days? Like, let's take Mitch McConnell at his word. He wants to compromise. Like, Dana Bash yesterday on CNN, who's I think a great reporter. I think Dana Bash is a really good reporter. I watched her on CNN yesterday. She's like, John Boehner, more than anyone in Washington, D.C., wants to get immigration reform done. Really? That's shocking news to a lot of people.
Call a vote.
Right? Wouldn't that be lovely? There's a bill on his desk.
Passed.
This can be done.
Passed by the Senate.
But what would really poison the well?
With Republican votes in the Senate. Right. Go ahead.
But what would really poison the well is if the president does something. That's what would poison the well.
Right. Yeah, and I love President Obama's response. Okay, you don't want me to do an executive action? Pass a bill. Dummy, right? Just pass a bill. You got an easy way to block it.
But again, we're told they eat it up. We're told John Boehner wants to get immigration reform done. Mitch McConnell wants to sit down. Let's take them at their word. Let's forget everything that's happened for the last 6 years.
Boehner also said yesterday, on immigration reform, we need some more time. Like, maybe give us more time. So, like, authorization for the use of military force, well, we're not going to do that this year. We'll do it. I mean, even though the war is already raging, we'll wait until 2015. Now he wants to wait until 2015. How much more time do you give him? I don't think you give him 24 hours.
The clock starts over in January, right?
Yeah.
We wait until January. There is no Senate bill that's already passed with bipartisan
Good point.
support.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Start all over. Man, we got 11 minutes an hour after the hour. So Jeremy's here with us. Burgess, Everett, I know you heard me say yesterday that Burgess Everett was going to be here. He's going to be here 24 hours late.
Yeah.
That's all. That's, so relax.
You weren't wrong when you said he was coming up.
Right. I was just 24 hours early.
Yeah.
John Nichols is going to be here from The Nation as well. And Clinton Yates in as a friend of Bill for the next hour from the Washington Post. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
You know, I mentioned earlier this week that North Carolina did not get a chance to be represented by Clay Aiken. He lost his congressional bid, but he's going to be coming back to TV.
This guy never wins anything.
Apparently, he's second place all the time.
Right.
Well, just like with American Idol, some might say he went on to have a better career than Ruben Studdard, the guy that
so
beat him.
he doesn't have to win.
Exactly. Well, now that he's lost in North Carolina, it doesn't matter because he's going to get a TV show on the Esquire network that is chronicling his failed congressional campaign.
There you go. I mean, yeah.
It's going to be a 4-hour series. So it's 4 episodes, 1 hour each, that just chronicles how he ran for Congress and the whole thing right up until the night that he lost earlier this week on the Esquire network.
I mean, he wins by losing.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I know. He's
failing upward, right? Amanda Knox, you might remember, has been convicted twice in Italy for the murder of a British student, but that hasn't stopped her from working here in America. It turns out she is a freelance reporter for the West Seattle Herald. She's writing on arts while she's there, and according to People magazine, who talked to her associate publisher, Tim Robinson, he said, quote, "She's a good writer, and she always meets her deadlines."
So you're saying her work is killer?
She's got some pretty killer work. Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. And Amazon has a new idea.
Good for her, I guess.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
she's here. She's got to work, you know. Amazon, which ships anything, right? They're always looking for new ways to ship products, and the newest way might be in a taxi. They have teamed up with a company called Flywheel, which monitors taxis in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And what they're doing is, now that people are ordering taxis, there's a lot less guesswork, right? Like you order a taxi on your phone sometimes, and they know exactly where you're going.
Are you talking Uber?
It's like Uber, but there are other companies that connect you with taxis.
Oh, okay.
Right? So now they find out where these people are going, and they put packages in the taxis to be delivered all throughout the day. So they're using these taxi drivers as delivery drivers because they're right there in town.
You know, I can't keep up with it. I was telling Peter.
The logistics of that make my head hurt.
Me too. Yeah. And I'm not sure I want to trust a taxi driver with my package.
Yeah.
Does the passenger have to finish the delivery? Hey, while you're on your way, can you drop this off?
Drop this off. Yeah.
The cab just stops in front of your house, and the passenger has to get out, take the package up.
Yeah.
But I ordered a little device, a recorder, last week, Friday, from Amazon. And it was at my house Saturday.
Yeah.
I didn't need it that fast. You know what I mean? It's getting to the point now where you on your computer, you order the thing, and then you walk downstairs and open the front door, and there it is.
You want the suspense back, right?
I do. Yeah, right. A little time there. It was like too fast. Damn it, too fast.
I don't disagree with you there.
Here we go. So I thought last night, Jeremy. Let's get into it with how the media's doing. Is they really do. They all say the same stuff, and they all sound the same, right? And somebody will start a theme, and then everybody picks it up. Jon Stewart had a little fun with that last night. If we can hear that.
The Democratic Party in shambles. A lot of soul searching. Stages of grief. Why is it those phrases are so familiar?
The latest sign of a Republican Party simply in shambles.
Well, more Republican soul searching is now underway in the wake of the November elections.
The Republicans are kind of going through their 5 stages of grief after the election.
Right! Oh! I know why those phrases are so in my head, because they said the exact same ones about the Republican Party when its death warrant was signed in 2012. A mere 24 months, apparently, before it burst forth from its grave like Jesus Christ. Or a zombie, depending on your personal beliefs.
It is true, though, isn't it? I mean, all this talk about the Democratic Party, they'll never recover. And Republicans have a mandate.
Yeah.
And common ground. It's
super mandate. No, but it's the classic hero's story, right? You have hope, loss, redemption, and to the victor goes the redemptive arc, right? So that's where you get back to Boehner and McConnell, right? Well, they're the heroes now. They're coming to fix the Washington that they helped break. But it's this hope, loss, redemption arc, and you see it over and over and over again. It's a stock story, and you plug in the characters based on who's winning, who's losing. No substance. It's just archetypes, right?
Yeah, and the media gloms onto it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's their shorthand for covering the election, right?
Yeah.
You pointed out on Media Matters that one thing that they totally overlooked in talking about the election results, or maybe two things. One was turnout. It's hard to have a mandate when 2/3 of the people stay home.
Yeah.
Right? And the other was redistricting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are two.
By the way, you talked about that on Media Matters. I didn't see anybody else mention that.
No.
Anyone.
It was completely missing from the conversation Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning. While we're talking about a historic majority for Republicans in the House, something they haven't seen in, I think, 2 generations, so, fine, true. One of the ways they got there was by redrawing the congressional maps in 2010 after the census to make sure that their members were safe. They could run further to the right. They wouldn't have to worry about trying to appeal to the middle, and all they'd have to worry about was a primary challenge. You saw this with Eric Cantor down in Virginia. The biggest threat to him was a primary challenge from the right, not having to actually reach across the aisle and talk to moderates, to people in the center, to, God forbid, liberals. You only have to speak to the people that are in your camp, that are going to vote for you. And so that's a huge part of this story. Yes, Republicans have been able to lock down a very large majority in the House, but they did so by redrawing the congressional maps.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the story.
Yeah.
The other part of the story you mentioned was that low voter turnout. If we're going to talk about and we've heard this the last couple of days, questions of does this mean that the country is moving to the right? Does a majority of a minority, does 32% of the population get to signal that the country is moving to the right? I don't think so. And again, I think that needs to be part of the conversation.
What? Weren't there other signs in this Tuesday night that the party, in terms of policies, is not moving to the right?
Yeah, we see this every 2 years, right? Even when Democrats win, you'll hear conservative pundits go on and say, let's not forget this is a center-right country. And certainly when Republicans, have a very good night, win several Senate seats, take back the Senate, enlarge their majority in the House, I think it's very easy for media to start asking the next day, does this signal a rightward shift in the broader body politic? But look beneath that. 5 states, including 4 states governed by Republicans, voters passed the minimum wage law. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't seem to me to signal a rightward shift. How many states liberalized their marijuana laws on Tuesday night?
Well, 2 states and the District of Columbia.
We have majority support for marriage equality. We have 90% support for universal background checks. We have 70% support for a federal law raising the minimum wage to $10.10. That doesn't, to me, sound like a rightward shift. And it's an important part. If the media is going to ask that question, they have to answer it with where the people are on the critical issues that we face.
Right. On the pot issue, too, now this is medical marijuana, not full legalization. But in Florida, right, there was a constitutional amendment on medical marijuana. You need, in Florida, under state law, 60% to pass a constitutional amendment. Medical marijuana got 58% in Florida. So, even in the South, yeah.
Look at Colorado.
Things are moving.
That's right. And look at Colorado. One of the ways that Cory Gardner was able to convince people to vote for him was to run away from his past embrace of extreme positions, such as a personhood amendment.
He totally repudiated it in the end.
Does that signal that Colorado voters are running to the right? It doesn't make any sense, but we hear this all the time.
So do you think we're going to see – I've seen already a couple of little strains of this, that a couple of people start that maybe the next phase is okay, now Republicans are in charge, right? Now let's see how they do. Let's see how they deliver. Let's see what they accomplish. So this could turn against them, I guess is what I'm saying. Turn against the Republicans pretty soon.
And that's where the media comes into play. It is up to the media to hold Republicans now accountable to okay.
Will they do so?
What
That's
are we going to
really
do
the
about
question.
immigration reform? You say you're willing to compromise. What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
You're up to the plate now. What are you going to do?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got this so-called mandate.
Right.
You may not have a mandate, but you got the numbers. So you do control House and the Senate. But yeah, what are you going to do to move things forward? I don't think they're going to do much.
We're going to find out.
For one thing, because they don't control Boehner doesn't control his own caucus. We know that. And Mitch McConnell's got some people coming in, like this Joni Ernst, who's a Tea Partier. She's crazy.
And go back to this. So this conventional wisdom now in the media is that McConnell wants to compromise and Boehner desperately wants to get immigration reform done. And that speaks exactly to your point. If that's true, how do they do that? Are they able to control their caucus, or do they have to build bridges across the aisle? And what does that look like? It's going to be challenging for the media, but they have to ask these questions and they have to follow up on the results.
Here we go with Jeremy Holden talking about how the media has played the Tuesday night's returns. 866-55-PRESS. You want to chime in? We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Grunt work. Love it, hate it, useful, not useful.
Necessary.
Our social entrepreneurs are people who have been on the front lines of social change. I've learned so much from talking with them. This is Cafe Impact, and I'm Jonathan Lewis.
I will say that I think is a challenge for anyone, especially the new workforce as they come in, is the ability to accept grunt work with grace.
The most boring, awful details are the most important elements of doing this work. From the way you save names in your Rolodex to the way you bank and you deposit checks. The truth is, this work isn't glamorous, it's rewarding. You don't go into this for the glamour, you go into it for the impact. And so it takes that determination to do the scut work to actually get anywhere.
It can be really challenging in a first job for someone who's coming out of finishing school to have the enthusiasm that they do to make the type of social impact that they've dreamed of. And now they're here in this first job and all of a sudden they're shouldered with all this grunt work. And they don't understand and they don't get it and they're resentful.
Talk more about the power of answering phones.
Sure, I did that myself, took out the trash, cleaned offices when I had to, and it's all good. There's power in being a good team player and in being somebody who sometimes has to support other people's leadership before you get to have your own moment in the sun.
Is it hard to wait?
It is absolutely hard to wait, especially if you're an alpha female like I am.
I think grunt work can help a new employee build trust internally and teach them the nuances of how an organization is run so that they can have a real good sense of what HR is doing, what finance is doing, what all the other departments are, and that actually makes them a better employee in the long run.
So in my role on a daily basis, I literally can be looking at a new venture in software. We could be looking at a microfinance deal. I could be making coffee, taking out the trash, and riding a tractor on any given day.
Have you found people who thought it was demeaning that they were given this job, work in the front office and make the coffee when they graduated with all A's from this great university?
Yeah, people like that just don't last very long in our world. If your approach to life is that, you're so smart and you're such a fabulous entrepreneur that you can't understand why people aren't giving you opportunities, it's really hard to advance.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The new crusade on the part of Fox?
You know, John Boehner talked about playing matches, and I think we know Fox News is the gasoline that's going to go on any of those fires, right? I mean, they are going to keep floating this. They've been doing it since day one. I mean, not just Fox News, but certainly that conservative media movement. I think it was Mark Levin, just weeks after the first inauguration, started talking about it's time to start thinking about impeachment. This is something that they've been floating and trying to keep alive for 6 years now. I don't see any reason why it's going to stop. You look at this idea that Republicans are now ready to compromise, right? The mainstream media wants to take Mitch McConnell at his word that he wants to compromise. The exact same time, you have Rush Limbaugh, you have Laura Ingraham out there screaming, don't compromise, you know, stand strong, stand firm, fight. This is still about Rush Limbaugh's desire to hope that Obama fails. This is about the Frank Luntz convening the day of the first inauguration in 2009 to say, obstruct, 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 let nothing get done, break Washington, retake power, make sure that this administration fails. It's been the plan from day one, and the conservative media is going to keep pushing that movement. And you know, we haven't seen any indication that the Republican leadership is going to break ranks with their Fox News allies before. Why would we think they're going to do so now?
Even more so now that they control both houses, right?
Yeah, that's right. And you already hear, are we going to, if this executive order happens, John Boehner says this is the match. Fox News is going to pour gasoline on that fire and keep banging the drums for impeachment.
Right. Impeachment over immigration, just like they wanted to impeach him. Well, sue him over Obamacare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, I wonder how that lawsuit is going. I think the second law firm dropped out.
Yep.
Right, saying they wouldn't represent John Boehner on this lawsuit. Unfortunately, out of time here, Jeremy, but thanks so much for coming in. MediaMatters.org. Check it out. I tell you that all the time. Do great, great work. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free tips to help you save, go to
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You got it 33 minutes after the hour. How about it? The Bill Press Show here on a Friday. Did you hear that? Friday. November. Yeah, thank you. November 7. We're brought to you today by the United Steelworkers and their international president, Leo Gerard. The one and only Leo Gerard, outspoken, a good fighter for all the working men and women of this country, particularly for the steelworkers in North America's largest industrial union, representing over 1.2 million active and retired members. You can find out more about their good work at usw.org. And you heard me say it yesterday. Burgess Everett from Politico was going to be in studio and coming up, and here he is. He's here. Just 24 hours late, but it's good to see you, Burgess.
It's like a fine wine. I'm getting better. You could have bought me on Monday, and I would have
even better. Huh?
So, do you have your iPhone? Do you know how to set the alarm on your iPhone?
Hey, to be fair, he was late this morning too because his alarm didn't go off.
Really?
And the reason my alarm didn't go off is because I didn't
Here
set
I am
it.
thinking you've out-professionaled me.
Oh no, fooled you again. Okay, now you cover the Congress, and we have a whole new Congress. So I'm very eager to hear what your take on now that Republicans control the Senate and control the House. It's going to be finding common ground. That's what they all said yesterday.
That's what they want to
common ground with President Obama and working together. Is that going to work?
I mean, there are a couple things. I mean, the most obvious thing is this trade authority, which Democrats have blocked in the Senate. Harry Reid doesn't like this fast-track trade authority.
The TPP, you mean?
TPP,
yeah.
And that's, to me, that's the most big, obvious thing that the White House and a Republican Congress would do, because you'd probably get a decent amount of Democrats on board. And then you go from that to...
And President Obama wants it.
Right.
Right.
So then everything else that could pass, the major things you're hearing about, President Obama doesn't necessarily want.
Right.
Like the Keystone Pipeline, which is another thing you've heard a lot about.
And that's Mitch McConnell seems to think that's his number one priority.
Yeah.
Or has indicated that's his number one priority.
I mean, think about how symbolic this has been, the Keystone Pipeline, right? Like, you know, you ask people that are really deep in the environmental and energy issues, and they'll tell you, sure, it's important, but for job creation and for, national energy policy, it's really just turned into a political food fight. And it very may well next year, but it looks like at the very least it'll be sent to the president in some form, and he'll finally, he's been putting off this decision for years, so he'll finally have this make or break decision on this thing.
Well, the one that most of the focus has been on, and I was at the news conference with the president Wednesday, on immigration reform.
Yeah.
Immigration reform. And we know The Senate has passed a bill. They've sent it over to the House. It's been there almost 2 years now.
Mhm.
John Boehner has not brought it up for a vote and said that he will not. So, yes, were you at this news conference yesterday?
I was not, but I was watching part of it.
Right.
yeah.
So John Boehner was, of course, asked about what the president said, that if Congress doesn't act, he's going to sign an executive order before the end of the year. So here is, we're talking common ground again. Okay.
Right.
Here is John Boehner seeking common ground with the president.
I believe that the president continues to act on his own. He is going to poison the well. When you play with matches, you take the risk of burning yourself. And he's going to burn himself if he continues to go down this path.
No, that's not what I would consider like a
common
kumbaya,
ground.
reaching out. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's work together, right? He's not saying, well, we could go with some of this immigration reform, but not all of it, and so maybe we can meet here in the middle. He's just saying, if you do anything, basically you're our enemy.
The interesting thing in this midterm election too is immigration reform had gone from a big problem for Republicans to, if you were talking about the border, it became an issue that was working for them in a lot of these campaigns in these conservative states. I mean, I know Scott Brown lost, but the reason the race was close, you just heard him hammering on border control, and then the worries about Ebola would often seep into those. So I see going forward, and you heard Boehner say it yesterday, that immigration, attacking the president on unilateral immigration moves still sounds pretty good to the Republican base, and it could offer them something else to fight him on in the next 2 years.
And they would rather do that than pass a bill.
Yeah, I mean, and the interesting thing is David Axelrod, I'd rarely just want to quote someone's tweet, but he was saying, give the House a chance to vote up or down on the bill before you move on the executive action from the White House. Now, of course, David Axelrod doesn't control what John Boehner does, but that's an interesting sentiment coming from a Democrat, and I've seen some Republicans saying the same thing. So, I mean, it's not going to happen in the next 2 months, that's for sure. And if the president wants to move quickly, I think that's kind of
Well, the other thing that Boehner was saying is, okay, maybe we'll do something on immigration reform, but you can't expect us to do it before the end of the year, right? We're going to have to wait until 2015. President Obama is not going to wait until 2015.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
He might wait until after this Louisiana Senate race. There's a runoff in a month, and I'm not sure. National Democrats are kind of sending mixed messages on how much they want to compete there, and that's a big issue down there. Landrieu has been talking about securing the border, and maybe it gives her an opportunity to distance herself from him and look more conservative. But I don't get the sense that it's going to wait until the next Congress is in session. And how long does it take to write a bill?
Well,
I mean, we didn't get into it in the last Congress until the middle of the summer. So
Right. And the problem, of course, is that after the beginning of the year, you have a new Congress.
Right.
So there ain't no Senate bill. There's no Senate bill to act on. So you have to start all over again in the Senate.
Right.
And the Senate, I mean, Republicans may be in charge, but that doesn't mean they're all going to agree with Mitch McConnell.
No.
I mean, Ted Cruz is not going to go for a bill. Joni Ernst is not going to go for a bill. And
they'd go for a bill, but it wouldn't be anything like what we saw.
Exactly.
Last. And this goes back to, this their majority is a little bigger than we expected. The Republicans, they could have as many as 54, but you look at it and you have this Cruz-Susan Collins issue. That's the spectrum. How do you get those two people to agree on anything? Immigration would be something where they'd have wildly different ideas.
Ted Cruz has not said that he will support Mitch McConnell for majority leader, right? Is he going to run against McConnell?
No, I don't think he has any interest in being the majority leader. It's just it's almost this principled thing that Ted Cruz has been doing.
Will anybody challenge McConnell?
I've heard nothing to indicate that. I think the vast majority of the Republicans are going to want to give him a chance to be majority leader. And this incoming class, many of them owe a lot to Mitch McConnell for sending them money and bring them into Washington, showing them how not to be a gaffe-prone candidate, all of those things.
Harry Reid will continue to be the Democratic leader in the Senate?
That's right. Now you've got a couple people in the Democratic caucus, Joe Manchin, who's the most conservative Democrat in the Senate, who won't say that he'll commit to Harry Reid, but, it could be almost a mirror image of the Cruz thing, where I just don't want to say we need to talk about this first, but ultimately Harry Reid is going to come out of that room, the Democratic leader.
And in the House, John Boehner will be reelected Speaker.
Yeah, I'd expect some drama there.
Really?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, he was reelected speaker in 2013 too, but that was a pretty theatrical vote, watching people vote against him that are in his own party and do it pointedly,
So he might have a Tea Party challenger from the...
Jeb Hensarling is not running against him, so I don't think there would be an actual spirited challenge, somebody whipping votes, but I just think there'll be some protest votes against him.
And Nancy Pelosi will continue to be Democratic leader.
It's sounding very similar to the last few years.
That's what I'm getting at. No, you follow my drift, right? So I'm saying, so what's changed?
What's changed is offices. I mean,
in the Senate, Mitch will take Harry's office, and Harry will take Mitch's office, and basically, otherwise, it's still same old, same old.
But so Boehner has a lot more room to operate than he's had in previous years because he's
got 13 more seats.
His majority is very robust. He can afford to lose 15 of these really hard right House members on everything and still pass with all Republicans. On the Senate side, it's not the same thing. There's no supermajority for Mitch McConnell.
When the Congress comes back next week, Monday, Tuesday, I don't know when they're due back, but
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yep. They've been working too hard, Bill.
That's amazing. They've had 6 weeks off, and then the election.
Don't rush right into the work week, man. You gotta.
No. Rush into the work. So then the midterms, and then it's a week and a day after the midterms they come back. Yeah. When they come back, and they're only here a few days before Thanksgiving, and then a few days after, and then it's Christmas. What do they have to get done?
This is something I've been exploring this week. Yeah, there's a bunch of deadline-driven things. The main thing is funding the government. That expires December 11th. That's not expected to be especially
so they'll do another
right
short-term kick the can down the road.
I think it'll be a little longer.
Really?
I think the Republicans want to build a budget next year through the traditional process. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're saying. I think it'll be harder than they're saying it's going to be, but they want to have a longer-term spending build-up, give them a little breathing room. But the bigger piece of that, more contentious one, might be the Syrian rebel train and equip language that expires on the same day. And people are talking about trying to take that off the spending bills track and put it on a defense authorization, some other bill to detach it from the spending bill so that they're not linked in.
So they have to do something about keeping the government funded, and they have to do something about money to train the Syrian rebels to fight ISIS.
Right. And there's a defense authorization, which Congress has passed dozens of years in a row. I don't think they want to break that streak.
All right, so we saw what happened Tuesday night. Is it going to make any difference? And in terms, certainly, of getting things done here in the Congress, I don't think so. Neither does Burgess Everett from Politico. How about you? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies
gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans. Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer. Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we are 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Burgess Everett in the studio with us. He covers Congress for Politico, Politico.com, of course. I have to say, Politico did a really good job covering the midterms Tuesday night. Yeah.
Thank you.
I was watching, and I had my cell phone, and I was getting the updates from Politico, and Politico was ahead of the cables and the networks and calling a lot of races.
Yeah, but the other thing was we hit the pause button. We usually wait for the Associated Press because some of these TV stations are trying to make their own calls now, and we're trying to stay away from that. I think the AP is kind of the trusted voice on this thing. They have their own system. They're very rarely wrong. So we've.
But I mean, I remember particularly with Jean Shaheen, you were way ahead of CNN on Jean Shaheen. I don't know what was taking them so long. At least a half an. I mean, I'm not talking a couple of minutes. I'm talking like a half an hour.
So ahead. Was that the highlight of your night?
That was, yeah.
It was.
Getting my.
I mean, there was really only that one, right?
Getting my updates from Politico. That was a highlight. All right. So Burgess. So by the way. In terms of common ground, I think the president is sort of sending a signal of how closely he wants to work with the new Congress. They come back next week, and the president leaves Sunday for 10 days in Asia.
Right. Well, they're meeting today.
He could not get any farther away, than Malaysia and Australia. That's where he's going.
He'll take his mind off of it immediately,
but
for sure.
They always say, Josh Earnest always tells us, yeah, but wherever the president is, he's got the phone. He can always
and
keep
the pen.
in touch.
Don't forget the pen.
And they're meeting. So they're meeting today. I was going to ask you about. So 15. It's not just the top 4. He's invited the 15. It's going to be interesting to see that. I haven't seen that list yet, exactly who's there and who's not.
Yeah, I believe it's just the top 4 from each chamber, and the one person that's not able to make it, Steve Scalise, the new whip for the House Republicans.
But there are 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how many House and Senate, whatever. But they're meeting with the president and the vice president, I believe, for lunch today at the White House. What do you think's going to come out of that meeting?
My take is I think that's too many people for it to be productive in terms of...
Of course it is.
actually breaking new ground. Yeah. I mean, it definitely smacks a little bit of a photo op to say we're putting this divisive, tough election result right behind us. I mean, that's what I think a lot of the American people want to hear, and so they're going to give it to them, and we'll see if anything substantive comes out of it, but I expect it to be kind of I don't know. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Look forward to working with you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fight about this in 2 months.
And one of the questions that came up at the briefing yesterday was whose agenda, who sets the agenda for this meeting today? It's pretty clear to me if the meeting's at the White House, called by the president, it's the president's agenda.
Yeah,
right?
That's what it sounds like to me as
Yeah.
well. I mean, and he's come to the Capitol a few different times over the past couple of years, and that's usually, I would imagine, the senators or the congressmen setting the agenda.
So President Obama will thank them for coming, give the good, happy talk about common ground.
Right.
Here are my priorities. Senator McConnell, what do you have to say? Then McConnell will speak, Boehner will speak, Harry Reid will speak, Nancy Pelosi will speak. Others will chime in if they want, and then they all go home. Right?
You know, and if I was a fly on the wall, I'd want to see, who lingers behind have a private word with the president and the vice president. Maybe it's Harry Reid, maybe it's Nancy Pelosi, maybe it's one of the Republicans, but...
You mean who stays behind?
Exactly, yeah. Who says, Mr. President, can I have a word with you on the way out the door?
Is a meeting like that expected ever to get confrontational? I mean, will Boehner tell President Obama today, if you sign that immigration form, you're playing with matches, dude. You're going to get burned.
I think he already got that out of the way, right? I think a lot of if he was trying to position himself against or with certain parts of the president's agenda, that's what that press conference yesterday was for. Boehner didn't have to have that press conference.
Right.
The Congress isn't in session for another week, right?
Mm-hmm. The authorization of the use of military force. This was something I think they should have done if they were going to do it before they left for this long vacation. And they could have, because the airstrikes against ISIS had already started.
Right.
Now they're back. Are they going to do this next week? Or are they going to wait until 2015 for...
You could see it get started, but I have a hard time believing they're going to pass that in this lame duck
It was interesting. President Obama said at the news conference that he didn't need it, but he would welcome it. And he's got all the authority he needs to bomb the hell out of ISIS without any authorization from Congress. But if they want to do it, it would be nice to have.
Right. And that's
kind of a weird
something
position.
He's been saying for a while now, right? But it takes on new meaning now after the midterms. But people have been, in both parties, have been clamoring for this.
For it or
for it. And they're probably in the minority, but Tim Kaine has been his thing. I mean, he's a freshman senator. He's pretty well known, but this has been his defining moment, I think, in the Senate, which has been, I want to have this discussion right now. We are deferring this. The American people do not want us to defer on this. They want us to be on the record on this. I support what the president is doing, but my philosophy on this is that we need to do it.
We need to have a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's always fun to watch. It's going to be even more fun to watch in the next week or so to see how all of this shakes down under this new common ground that we're celebrating here in Washington. I don't believe it for a second, but Burgess, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for coming
Thanks
in.
for having me.
At Politico, always you can follow Burgess' good work, Politico.com. We'll be back. In addition to that meeting, tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, not yet. I know the first 2 hours were great, and you want to go into the weekend, but we got one more hour to go. Hour number 3, we'll lose you on Free Speech TV, so jump over to our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, and I'll be here with Clinton Yates, columnist for the Washington Post, one of our good friends here in studio for the entire hour, as a friend of Bill indeed, and then John Nichols, Washington correspondent for The Nation magazine. We'll be here to take a look at state legislatures and governors and how we did in that front on last Tuesday. Hour number 3 on TawkrTV coming up.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
should I get back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Okay, two good friends in the next hour, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post and John Nichols from The Nation magazine. President Obama cramming a lot in today before he takes off for his long 10-day trip to Asia on Sunday. The president and vice president get the daily briefing this morning at 10 o'clock, and then a big cabinet meeting at 10:35 for the both of them and all members of the cabinet, of course. Right after that, at about 12:30, the president and the vice president will meet with the congressional leaders. We were just talking to Burgess Everett about 15 of them, Democrats and Republicans, in the old family dining room. At the very same time, we will be meeting with Josh Earnest for our daily briefing at the White House. Back with Clinton Yates.
This is The Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particular
try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
What the frack? What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack? President Obama, are you fracking kidding me? Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer. Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Seen around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
The Bourbon Summit at the White House at lunch today. Yep, 15 congressional leaders sitting down for lunch with the president, the vice president. The word is that the Republicans will be enjoying New York Strip. Democrats will be eating crow at the White House today. Good to see you this Friday morning, November 7. And they'll all be drinking bourbon, Kentucky bourbon, thanks to Mitch McConnell. We got a lot to cover here in this last hour together. Good to have you with us on your local progressive talk radio station and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Still in sort of a state of mourning or shock or kind of recover from the Tuesday midterms. To help us through it all today, our good friend Clinton Yates, back here as a friend to Bill the entire hour from the Washington Post, of course. Hello, Clinton.
How are you?
I'm good.
I just pulled on a miraculous cab drive across town. I got to give a shout to my Uber driver. He was, well, I'm not going to get into the internecine, sort of scenarios, but he knew where he was going for once, which is a rarity in this city now.
It is.
You get in a cab and the guy actually knows where to go without you having to direct that person all over the place.
Well, we were tracking you. And so
you got here early.
Yeah, I'm good. 30 seconds early.
You got here 30 seconds
Let
early.
me ask you a question about this bourbon summit, though.
Mm-hmm.
What actually goes down in that scenario? They break out the little glasses. You take it neat, maybe
little bit of maybe ice,
maybe a water. But do you actually consume the bourbon?
Well, first of all, we don't know for a fact that they're going to serve the bourbon, but
I feel you got to be pretty disappointed if you show up and there's no bourbon.
If they show up after all the talk about the bourbon, there will be bourbon.
Right.
President Obama will say, "Oh, look what we have! Surprise in bourbon," and I think they'll all knock back some bourbon. Yeah,
because I remember during the beer summit, I'm fairly certain that Biden went non-alcoholic when they had that whole scenario with
Biden?
Skip Gates. Yeah,
from Delaware, no beer.
I think he did actually go with a non-alcoholic beer, but I just wonder, what do? You don't want to. Do you slam it? Do you sip it?
They'll get together. They'll sip.
You know what you do?
And then since it's bourbon, they're going to go get in a fight with somebody, like a random stranger on the street.
Should be interesting.
Maybe that's just me.
Probably you do what the president does. If he sips, you sip. If he
Follow
knocks
his
it back, you knock it back. All right.
Probably a good idea.
Clinton's here with our team. Peter Ogburn.
Hey.
Hello. Well accounted for. Sean Pierce here running the board.
Good morning.
Flying the 747 with Alicia Cruz. She's there to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding is here, our videographer, to keep us looking good on the video stream. So, Clinton, you know that if you've been listening to the media lately, they've all been saying the same thing about Tuesday, and it all sounds really kind of familiar. Jon Stewart kind of made the connection last night. Here he is.
The Democratic Party in shambles. Mm-hmm. A lot of soul searching.
Yeah.
Stages of grief.
Right.
Why is it those phrases are so familiar?
The latest sign of a Republican Party simply in shambles.
Well, more Republican soul searching is now underway in the wake of the November elections.
The Republicans are kind of going through their 5 stages of grief after the election.
Right! Oh! I know why those phrases are so in my head, because they said the exact same ones about the Republican Party when its death warrant was signed in 2012. A mere 24 months, apparently, before it burst forth from its grave like Jesus Christ. Or a zombie, depending on your personal beliefs.
It is true, isn't it? They go through these cycles,
The rhetoric is very cyclical, but, I don't know. I just think that they really, after the last presidential election, there was the power grab that the Republicans couldn't get. Whereas in this cycle, it was like, look, if it doesn't happen now, I don't know what happens going forward. And I'll say this again: the rise of the white male in this electoral cycle was intense. It's like, look, if our power structure gets messed with, we have a major problem. And again, as the country gets browner, as more females start to take office, more women are in positions of power. Yeah. White guys start getting nervous about controlling things.
I was feeling pretty underrepresented. I'm going to be honest.
I'm just saying. This is a reality,
right.
and that this is how the Republican Party operates, and they've come to enjoy a certain lifestyle, and the notion of them not being in power is very scary to them.
I know. And we'll talk more about that because one of the ways that they're able to pull that off is because the other guys stay home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but...
And,
But the fact is, though, on the ground, though, the reality of what Republican lifestyle is moving towards a level of fiefdoms that I don't even want to think about in terms of everybody either being a lord or a serf. But they felt that, it's time to regain this. Otherwise, I don't know what's going forward.
They feel they'll be lost forever.
Right. And,
forever. And that's pretty scary for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Clintonistas are out there.
And Clinton Yates is here as a friend of Bill the entire hour. And some big changes in the District of Columbia.
Yeah.
Tuesday, which we'll talk about. But first, the big headlines of the day.
Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. I don't know if you knew this, but in Rochester, New York, there is actually a National Toy Hall of Fame.
I did know that, actually.
Did you?
I went to college. One of my old college radio buddies is from the Shah, as they call it. And I knew that. Yeah.
All right, so it's an actual thing, and they just announced the latest inductees into the National Toy Hall of Fame. 3 new toys. Number
Clues?
Huh?
Clues?
I'm just gonna. All right.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put them out there. Number 1, Bubbles.
Bubbles.
It's like Bubbles. Like the little wand.
Yeah, no, I know.
Those are awesome.
But I mean, they weren't already there.
They weren't already there.
Is that
right?
technically
It's
a
one of those
toy?
classic ones. One of the other ones, Little Green Army Men.
What's already in this Hall of Fame if those two things aren't already there?
And then the classic, the ultimate.
But, I mean, these are toys when I was growing up. These are not new toys.
Rubik's Cube also made it in.
Oh, get out.
Now, you would think that would be like one of the original inductees.
This is this is like when somebody dies and you're like, I didn't know that they were still alive kind of thing. Like, how are those two things not already in?
I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to find out what's already in there. I will report back. Star Wars.
Maybe little cars are already in. Maybe not. I mean,
jacks. Little jacks.
Jacks, right?
Paddle balls.
Marbles.
Yeah. Marbles, yeah, absolutely.
Pickup sticks.
Star Wars has finished its principal photography, the latest version of Star Wars Episode 7, which is what we've been calling it up until yesterday when we found out what the name of the new Star Wars movie is going to be. It is Star Wars The Force Awakens.
If its alarm goes off.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right.
But let me explain something to you. I have major feelings about this.
I know. I read something you wrote about this, and I couldn't.
I thought the Force was already awake.
All of the Star Wars movie names are idiotic.
You're not wrong.
That's the fact of the matter. The movies are great. And listen, I say this as a major Star Wars nerd. For those of you who want to check my bona fides, whatever you want to call them. Back when they had the Star Wars exhibit at the Air and Space Museum, not far from here, your boy did his high school community service there. All right. I was down there every weekend for like 6 weeks. All right, checking people in and looking at those original storyboards and costumes because I love Star Wars. But all the names are dumb. The only name that's good is the one that they changed out because Return of the Jedi was supposed to be called Revenge of the Jedi, but they changed it last minute. That would have been cool. So
Cyprian says they should have just called it It's a Trap.
Yeah, right.
That would have been great. Akbar's Revenge. But like, I'm telling you, man, they're all dumb.
Say hello to Occulto.
Oh, hello.
It is a beer that is being manufactured by Anheuser-Busch. They're going to be rolling out. It's a beer that tastes like tequila. What they do is they age the beer inside of tanks with tequila wooden barrels that have been used to make tequila.
No.
Now, I don't know if you remember this. In the late 90s, they tried. Remember Tequiza?
Oh,
they had Tequiza. I had a Tequiza in 1999, and I'm still hungover from it. It was the nastiest junk ever.
It was tequila and what?
It's beer that tastes like tequila. So they included the fake lime flavor.
Tequiza was awful.
Tequiza was the worst.
Like, if you went to a party and somebody had tequiza, it was like, come on, fam. Like, I gotta go.
No, you know what?
Occulto.
I love tequila. Have a tequila shot.
I don't like tequila.
Knock it back, right? Or margarita or whatever. But mix the two. No.
Not good, yeah.
You have your Dos Equis here and your margarita here, right? You don't pour them together.
Different lanes.
Yeah.
Right. We have a new mayor in Washington, D.C., Muriel Bowser. I must tell you, I know nothing about her. She's our new mayor. I know nothing about her. Is she up for it?
Yeah.
You're not enthusiastic.
I'm not really enthusiastic about anybody, but Muriel Bowser, she was a council member from Ward 4. She was sort of handpicked by the previous mayor to Gray, Adrian Fenty. She's from D.C. She's a nice woman. I mean, I know her. But I just think that the way that the mayoral race happened in D.C. was so, I don't know, it was a little too injurious to everybody involved. David Catania was the other guy. He's a former Republican.
Ran as an independent, didn't he?
Ran as an independent. He's been an independent for a while. Openly gay guy, very progressive dude, but kind of cantankerous on some levels. A lot of people don't like him.
I think that's a generous
That's
description.
a generous
according to some of the
description,
things
if you
I've
will.
read.
Some
Yeah.
people have called him a bulldog. But the way that the race ran, there was an impression that he might have a chance. Didn't happen. He ended up getting smoked, which puts him out of D.C. politics effectively forever because he had to give up his seat to run. But there's a thing that I noticed that's happening as a result now, which is, okay, so between mayors and council members, there are only 3 black men on the dais at the Wilson Building, which is City Hall in D.C. That's the lowest amount between mayors and council members there's been since 1998, which was the only other time it ever happened.
In terms of African-American representation?
Men.
So men.
Right.
All right. So you got Marion Barry.
You got Marion Barry, you got Vincent Orange, and you got Kenyon McDuffie. That's it. That's the list. Because Vince Gray was the mayor, so that would have been 4. But again, it's the lowest it's been since 1998, which is the only other time it's ever happened. 4, 5, 6, 7. Excuse me. That's been where it's at. And 1, Kenyon McDuffie, is the only man, the only black male there who's a D.C. native. Now, that's not some necessarily super shocking number, but it tells you a lot about how gentrification works in this city and how things are changing, which is that literally there's only 1 man, black man from D.C. on the council of 13. And if you include the mayors, that's 14, and that's it. And so it's when you look at sort of how these things work, and I'm sure this applies to a lot of cities around the country, which is you start to say, oh, there's a lot more dog parks and Starbucks and all this other stuff. Look at the actual city representation and see how that changes, and you'll probably get a better idea of what's really happening in terms of what the demographic changes are really about. It's fascinating.
What surprised me, the Washington Post had a map, your paper, a map of Washington, and where Catania won and where Muriel Bowser won. And it was really divided according to where the white people live and where the black people live.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I mean, I didn't realize this town was so segregated.
That's what we're still doing. I mean, DC's never had a white mayor, so you got to remember that that's still a factor. That there's a lot of people that just, that's a big step for them is to get out of the circle of African Americans when it comes to the highest elected position in the city, and the stratification is still there. It's kind of sad on some levels. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that that's what still happens because, again, in D.C. there's a large Asian population, there's a large Latino population.
Sure, yeah.
It's still wildly underrepresented in, in elected office, and it's still this very much just black and white story, which to me is very two-sided when you're looking at a cube versus.
All right, and the other big deal in Washington D.C. is with Oregon and Alaska, Washington D.C. legalized pot, but didn't legalize possession, but not the sale. Correct.
Right. It's the Pulp Fiction deal, where it's like it's legal to have it, it's legal to smoke it, but you can't be caught obtaining it. But if you're caught obtaining it, they can't send you to jail. Like it's really weird.
The language of the grow and give. So like you can grow pot at home and you can give it to people, but they're not regulating it. They're not taxing it.
Well, how long before they regulate and tax it?
So David Grasso is the guy on the council that really wants to push this through. I would give it a year, honestly. I think that if DC did this correctly, we would be looking at a full-blown tourism industry because that's the only real way it's going to make sense. Otherwise, what's the point? Why go through all these steps if you're not going to try to monetize it at the best possible level?
And Congress let them do that.
Yeah, what are they going to do? I mean, I don't think that
cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I mean, do you know how petty it would look? Andy Harris out here in Maryland, that guy, there are things I can't say on air about that guy. But that guy is sort of pushing this cause, talking about how, kids in D.C. don't have proper education and all this stuff. but he wants to block this. I'm like, I've never seen you say a word about what any kid in D.C. cares about until all of a sudden something regarding marijuana comes up. I think it happens within a year, and I don't think that Congress, I don't think it would make sense for them to meddle in it. It would just look too petty, and it would be too ridiculous.
Could be a huge source of new revenue for the District of Columbia.
Huge source of great journalism, too.
Good for business all around.
Not to mention good times.
Yeah.
It's always a good time when Clinton Yates is here as a friend of Bill, and we will get your glad to get your comments as well on anything going on. We're still talking about the impact of the midterms nationwide and right now on Washington, D.C. All of the above. You're welcome to comment at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Really? going on with my life upset kind
Whoa,
of thing.
whoa.
You know what I mean? I'm 33 years old. You know, there's people that are buying houses, having kids, you know what I mean, that are in my social circle who are like, yo, this is not what I wanted, not what I expected, and I'm nervous, you know? And again, like I was saying before in the hour, to me, as long as this country continues to progress on the ground, but maybe not necessarily in, you know, the halls of Congress, you're going to see these national elections, Republicans win more and more because the death rattle of their political grab is going to be intense. And that's just the reality. As the country gets browner and women get more respect, you're going to see the party of old white guys make sure that they can hold on to what they have.
Don't you see this disconnect between what happened at that level, House and Senate races, for example, and in 4 red states, you had minimum wage on the ballot, and it passed in every one of them. And we just talked about the 3 states, if you count D.C. as a state, where 3 places where pot was on the ballot, and it passed in every one. The personhood amendment was knocked down in a couple of states.
I mean, this is what I'm saying.
There's this big disconnect.
There's a major disconnect, and until the actual numbers allow, you talked about participation, you know, until the participation levels get up and the actual numbers allow for this stuff to just not make sense, I don't expect to see Republicans lose much of anything for the next 10 or 15 years, to be honest, because this is the last stand that they have when these people, you know, people of a certain age get up to that point where there's that and there's really nothing else. It's kind of frightening.
I just saw this number last night. So in 2012, 19% of voters were under 30, right? Young people, 19%. This year, 13%.
So that's trending poorly.
Yeah, if young people have so much at stake, why the hell don't they get off their ass and get out and vote?
I think that's a very good question. I think that a lot of it has to do with a certain generation that doesn't engage, you know, because you don't feel that you can really be a part of anything, which is kind of scary. But then you turn around and you look and you're not in control of anything, including your own body, which is a major problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are just a lot of politicians on both sides of the aisle that just don't connect.
No.
They just don't. They're just not very good at being a politician.
You know, and all this talk about, I mean, and it was true, by the way, the numbers are down for, not so much, but for women, they're down from 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young people, African Americans even, and Latinos more so.
That's depressing.
Yeah, it really is. You can't win an election when your base stays home, basically. Clinton Yates here. John Nichols joins us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour, here we go. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, brought to you today by the Laborers International Union, the good men and women of the Laborers Union. At present, Terry O'Sullivan doing great work building a new America, and that's their website, Liuna Builds, L-I-U-N-A, liunabuildsamerica.org. Clinton Yates, columnist of Washington Post, here in studio with us as a friend of Bill. Clinton,
Good morning.
Thanks so much for coming in again. And before we get to John Nichols from The Nation, we have some breaking news.
Bill, breaking news.
Peter.
The job numbers are out. 214,000 jobs were added in the month of October. That brings the unemployment rate down to 5.8%.
Down from 5.9.
Down from 5.9. That is the lowest that it's been since July of 2008.
And
very good news.
I believe, I haven't had a chance to double check, that's 56 straight months of positive job growth. Not bad.
Weird. Another quick little tidbit.
Yeah, weird.
Right.
Why are people feeling so crappy, right?
We're so angry about the economy. One quick note, which is worth pointing out here. Both September and August were revised upwards. Those numbers were revised upwards. Combine those 2 months, and they added 31,000 jobs in those 2 months in total revisions.
31,000 on top of
what we already thought, what we already reported.
All right. There we go. We'll have more about that and the impact. Looking at the midterm elections, maybe things might have turned out differently if Democrats were out there talking more about jobs and minimum wage and some of those issues in various elections around the country. John Nichols, our good friend from The Nation, on our newsline with us from Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, John, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you. And I have to start out by asking, with my biggest disappointment, I think, Tuesday night was Mary Burke. How do you read Wisconsin?
I read Wisconsin in the same way any reasonable person would. Over the last 4 years, Scott Walker has spent $100 million himself and via his allies and enthusiasts in various open and dark money groupings to promote an image of the guy. And up against a newcomer candidate, Mary Burke, this is her first time running for any partisan office, let alone statewide office, he got 52% of the vote, which is exactly what he got in 2010, the last wave election. And I think that's sort of the bottom line of it. Scott Walker can get 52% in Wisconsin. at least in an off-year election or in a unique circumstance. He hasn't been able to improve his circumstance at all. And, that's frustrating to folks. But it's also something that I think provides a reminder for national political folks that Wisconsin is not some big blue state.
Yeah.
Wisconsin has always been a classic swing state. Gore won Wisconsin by 12,000 votes. Kerry won Wisconsin by 6,000 votes. Everybody forgets that, and then they look at, oh, wow.
That is funny.
Voted.
I think of Wisconsin as the big blue state. Right.
Yeah, but the truth is it's a battleground state, and it's always been a battleground state. And I think that in Wisconsin, you see writ large some of the challenges that the Democratic Party has nationally.
Yeah.
And that is to connect issues that win with candidates, to make it much more integrated. If you can imagine this, in Wisconsin on Tuesday night, there were counties and cities that voted in favor of a 10-10 minimum wage, that voted in favor of accepting federal Medicaid money, and that voted for a constitutional amendment to get big money out of politics, and then voted for Scott Walker.
That's like this disconnect that we were talking about,
That's
Clint, just a little bit before.
It's a delinking of issues from campaigns, from politics.
John, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post here. You wrote about Obama and his lame duck status. It's the 6th year of his presidency. I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that there's a bunch of other presidents for whom that 6th year has been major. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm glad you asked. It's a kind of a fascinating circumstance. I was on CBC in Canada, and of course they have parliamentary systems, so they're like, wow, is this the end for Obama? And as most U.S. media seems to be saying as well.
Yeah.
But I said, no, this was a typical midterm election, very typical. And what people need to understand is that in 1986, the 6th year of Ronald Reagan's presidency, and a lot of Republicans think Ronald Reagan's kind of a big deal guy.
No kidding.
He lost 8 seats in the U.S. Senate, lost control of the Senate, had significant losses in a lot of other levels as well. 1958, Dwight Eisenhower. A lot of people think he's kind of a big deal guy. He lost 15 seats in the U.S. Senate, overwhelming setbacks in the House and in governorships. Franklin Roosevelt, 1938. A lot of Democrats think he's kind of a big deal guy. He lost, if you can imagine it, lost 8 seats in the Senate and 81 seats in the House.
Wow.
And so those are all big numbers, and so that makes people feel, a little good. Oh, I see. So this kind of happens a lot in the 6th year, especially to popular presidents who are elected with a lot of hope and then don't deliver in some people's minds, in a lot of people's minds perhaps. And so the 6th year is where a lot of the frustration is taken out. So here's the real important thing. Roosevelt, Eisenhower, and Reagan all ended that next 2 years, that last quarter of their second term, with significantly higher levels of approval. We assume that with Roosevelt there wasn't as much polling, certainly with Eisenhower, certainly with Reagan, and with immense numbers of successes. In fact, Reagan handed off the presidency to another Republican. Eisenhower got a Supreme Court nominee confirmed, brought in 2 new states, gave a pretty darn good speech on the military-industrial complex, and ended up as a heroic elder statesman. And Roosevelt, well, he got reelected president. So for
you
Obama,
can get things done as a lame duck.
No,
Is what
it's
you're
more than that. It's that this is a psychological, emotional, practical moment. You decide what you want to do with those next 2 years, and you decide how you're going to use your tools.
Yeah. Right. A very good point. Now, we've talked a lot about Senate races and House races, John. One thing that's gone basically unreported, I think, is that state legislative races were also up this time, right? And how important they are. And this is another area where Republicans cleaned up.
Oh, more so. In fact, the biggest story of actual advance on Tuesday night was at the state legislative level. And that's a place where Democrats ought to be a lot more concerned, because that's where you nurture up your future candidates. Where did Joni Ernst come from? Out of the Iowa legislature. You start looking around the country, where did a lot of these people come from? They come up from state house, state senate seats. Well, on Tuesday night, the Democrats had a brutal setback. They lost, it looks like, 11 legislative chambers. It looks like they lost around, it's going to be at the end of the day around 400 seats. They now have control of only 30 legislative chambers nationwide. The Republicans have 67, 68, depending on how some recounts go.
That's brutal.
But let me give you the last number. This is a scary one. It hasn't been this bad for the Democrats since Warren Harding's presidency.
Wow.
This is
Yeah,
huge
and
setback
these
in the place where things get done.
I was just going to say, is we've seen more and more is happening at the state level with this do-nothing Congress, Clinton. So, you know, and not to mention, most important of all, politically, redrawing the district lines.
Right. That's what I was going to say. The whole gerrymandering situation becomes a major problem when you deal with. Well, those numbers are staggering to me. I must admit, John, because that is, you're right. I mean, that's where it really, really counts. And if Dems can't find a way to even make that seem important, then how does any larger election become of any significance at all? That's really something.
Well, here's the flip side, though, and this is the sort of good news.
I'm always looking for kernels of good news.
Well, I'm not going to give you a lot here. Legislatures are up every 2 years, the state houses usually. And there will be a lot of state senate seats up in the presidential year. So this is actually the first place, where Democrats could, even next year in a couple of states, begin to rebuild. But they have to recognize that, and this is important. The Democratic Party in the United States operates on constant emergency status. And so they are always like, oh my gosh, we got trouble in Utah, we got to move the money there, whatever. And there's not a coherent, I know there's some really good people at the DLCC and that who really try to focus on that, but it's not their fault, quite frankly, but it is the fault of the people up the food chain who are always, kind of so obsessed with the presidential level, the Senate level, the House level, that they fail to recognize, this kind of baseline across the country. Republicans aren't doing that.
No, I know. No, they have a focus. They recognized it early on. I'll tell you who else recognized it, the Koch brothers. Now, I want to ask you about these. There's an excellent piece in Politico this morning. Now, John Boehner is saying, we have a mandate, and I want to listen to my members. And a number that scares me is that there are something like 10 to 20 extreme Tea Partiers who were elected, who are going to be joining the Tea Party caucus, people who will make like Steve King and Michelle Bachmann seem almost sane. One of them, John, I never heard of before, is a guy named Glenn Grothman. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah. I can't believe we didn't talk to you about Glenn Grothman.
No, from Wisconsin. Get this, Clinton. He says, here's his program. He wants to cancel Kwanzaa. That's his number one priority. And
thank God for
also
that.
to eliminate...
Things that happened in my house 20 years ago.
And eliminate the Martin Luther King holiday, too.
What?
Yes.
Come on.
No. He's a new member of Congress.
Oh, it keeps... You're just getting the top line there, bro.
Oh, my God.
I've known Glenn for a long time. He's a fascinating figure.
That's crazy.
Glenn Grothman...
Eliminate MLK Day? I don't understand that.
Primary ads, his big theme on his primary ads was his determination to really crack down on food stamp abuse.
Really? Abuse?
No, that's the biggest problem in America. That was like the sweeping, fundamental concern.
He's running from like 1984.
I'm going to say, like, what? That's like a pre-internet concept.
He referred to the Wisconsin protesters in 2011, many of them state employees and teachers, as scum. He is incredibly confrontational. And there's an interesting little trick to how he won the election. He had a multi-candidate Republican primary, and smart in a gerrymandered district. He ran right. However conservative everybody else was, he took one step over.
Yeah.
And the other thing, though, as soon as he won his primary, because he was so far out there, he disappeared.
Oh.
He did not participate in most debates. His opponent, who was a very good county official, very sincere guy, knew that if he could get Glenn Grothman out in public, that'd be the end of it. But even in a relatively Republican district, But Glenn Grothman didn't do debates, didn't do interviews.
Well, we're going to be hearing more about him, I'm sure. I just learned about him today. So anyhow, you never know what's going to come out of Wisconsin. John Nichols is the bright star of Wisconsin as far as we're concerned. Hey, John, see you back in Washington here next time.
I'll be there soon. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much for your time this morning, John Nichols, Washington correspondent for The Nation, thenation.com. Clinton Yates and I will be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan. And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately I've been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, hey, Friday, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, Friday, November 7. We're here, reading the tea leaves. President Obama said he refused to read the tea leaves publicly at our news conference on Wednesday. Well, that doesn't stop us. Clinton Yates from the Washington Post. And I've seen the story, Clinton, one sort of facet of the midterm, the fallout from the midterms is, what does this mean for Hillary Clinton? She looks at these returns, and what does she think? This makes it easier for me or harder for me, or get the hell out of here?
I think she's got to run. I mean, I think if she's going to get any sort of political momentum from the announcement, because it's been so long that the speculation has happened, it's got to be sometime soon. I mean, you think about what it's going to take to turn the tide back towards the Dems in this country. It's got to be more than just another random hotshot. I mean, she is, some people think she's not the greatest candidate because she's been sort of scrutinized beyond belief. But again, I think her role, not only as a woman, but from obviously her accomplishments, I honestly think that she is somewhat bulletproof when it comes to, candidate safety. And if she declares and says, hey, look, Dems, get on my back. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do this. I think the momentum would be tremendous.
So this is her moment to move fast and sort of seize. Look, President Obama is the head of the Democratic Party, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty clear he doesn't give a damn about being the head of the Democratic Party.
That's obvious, I would say.
Don't you think? I mean, there's an opportunity here for somebody to pick it up, reunite the party, encourage the party, get up off its, Yeah,
and I would say, honestly, that the approach is...
She can do it, you're saying.
I would say the approach would be sort of GOP-like in fear-mongering. You say, hey, we can't have this. You know what I mean? If these people take over, we are screwed. And I think Hillary's one that could reunite the base and really make an impact. I just... Again, somebody was arguing with me the other day on Twitter, and they were like, what makes you think she's qualified? I said, you know what? Read her Twitter bio. You know what it says on there? Yeah. Floor, FLOTUS, Senator, sex state. Yep. Sorry. If she was a man, people would be like, she's overqualified.
What man has a bio like that?
This is what I'm saying,
Seriously,
man. And look, if you really put her in the grinder, so to speak, and made it a situation where you said, who can be the best option for president? I don't see a lot of people that could beat her. Not even, honestly, I really don't.
If she's going to do it, I think she's got to do it fast. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, it's all this. I'm just tired of hearing her say, well, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, of course I'm thinking about it. Maybe next year I'll make a decision.
I think that's a good point that you brought up. I think Democrats are ready to rally behind someone.
Yeah, and it's not Joseph Biden either.
I don't think it's Biden. I definitely don't think it's Obama. Clearly, it's not a lot of the senators that they that they just voted out of office. So.
I'm with you to this extent. I love Hillary. I supported her over Barack Obama. Right?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
For all the reasons you just pointed out, she needs somebody to run against her in the primary this year. If it's a coronation, she will fail.
Yeah.
Take my word for it. Okay. She needs to be tested. She needs to be pulled to the left a little bit. She needs to be challenged to really. That's when you see her at her best, I think.
That's fair, because I think a lot of people believe that she just thinks she deserves something, and if she's challenged, it shows that, she's probably the best
she's got to be challenged before she meets up against whoever the Republican would be. There it is. We just solved that problem. Clinton Yates, man, you bring him in, and everything works out. I did my best. Good to see you, man. Thank you.
You too.
WashingtonPost.com. I'll be right back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, as we've been talking, everybody's still trying to figure out what went wrong for Democrats this week, but you don't really have to look too far. I mean, there were several factors, but no factor more important than voter turnout. Despite all the efforts of a lot of good people, it just didn't happen, especially among groups that make up the Democratic base. Listen to this. Young people, for example. 2012, 19% of voters were under 30. This year, only 13%. Women, in 2012, 23% of the vote. In this year's midterms, down to 21%. The percentage of African Americans voting fell from 13 to 12. Latinos from 10 down to 8%. Now, we could debate all night about why the Democrats didn't do a better job of motivating their young people, women, African Americans, and Latinos to get out and vote. But there's no debating this. You can't win an election when your people stay home on the couch. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Kate Nocera joins us from BuzzFeed on Monday, and lots of other good people. So have a good weekend. Come back and see us on Monday.
This is the Bill Press Show.